And so it is that time of year, the first week of autumn, which means that the same thing that happens every year happened again.
Uh-oh.
I got sick and right now my throat is burning, but that won't stop me from making another Arcane video. At this point we made far too many, so what's one more for the pile? So as always, in this video we will not only cover everything that happened in the trailer, but also we will have a look at all the Easter eggs you probably missed. So without further ado, get ready because there is a lot to talk about. Remember that this show is technically owned by Netflix, and so to avoid copyright I will use only screenshots and the least amount of them as possible. But now let's get into it. At the very beginning we appear in a prison, and we only know that it is a prison because in the very next shot there is Vi. And Vi seems to have what appears to be a prison garb with the cell number on her back. We then have a few shots about which we have talked about a lot of times in the past. It's basically Vi training at an arcade machine, but she's punching the face of one of their childhood friends. So I'm pretty sure this kid later on is gonna betray them. We then have this absolutely beautiful shot of Jinx making a made-up companion. And it really made me wonder if this is why when Jinx grows up, she turns all of her guns into cute companions. Maybe it's because when she was a kid, she wished she would have some kind of a guardian. Regardless, this is a pretty cool foreshadowing for her chompers. We then have some frantic shots which we have seen in the other trailers, where Jinx was remembering the times when Vi protected her, and once again she has a little companion. And then Vi mentioned that a monster showed up. With that monster being the main villain called Silco, who's been experimenting with that purpley magical stuff. With this, Vi basically confirmed that Silco is going to kidnap Jinx. And this is a far bigger reveal than people realize. You see, what most likely happened is that Silco experimented on Jinx and he injected her with the purple stuff. But that purple stuff did not get its catalyst. That's why for the longest time Jinx's eyes were blue, while in-game they are purple. We made a whole video talking about this, so let me quickly explain. You may notice that in the entire series Jinx's eyes are blue. That's because here she is not crazy. Her lore states that nobody knows how or when it happened, but at some point during her life, her mind snapped. This breaking point should appear somewhere in this series. And based on all the different trailers, here's what's most likely happening. Silco is going to kidnap Jinx, he's going to experiment on her with the purple stuff, but later, either with or without the help of Vi, she will get out. Now here's the thing. In Warwick's lore, we learned that these kinds of experiments usually need a catalyst that would activate the experimental formulas. In Warwick's case, even though Singed pumped a lot of green stuff into him, he didn't transform until Singed found the catalyst. Unfortunately for Warwick, the catalyst was pain. And so, the moment Singed provided Warwick enough pain to kill 99% of normal people, that's when the formula activated and Warwick became this monster. When it comes to Jinx, I believe the exact same thing is happening. When she was a kid, the purple stuff was pumped into her, but it won't be until some greater trauma happens later in her life that the catalyst activates and the purple stuff makes her go insane, turning her eyes purple. Although, and this is my prediction, looking at Jinx's character and her gameplay, it would be way cooler if her catalyst was excitement. And so she would truly go insane only after she would start blowing things up. If that's true, I am really looking forward to seeing the catalyst activated. Anyway, let's continue. We then have this shot which has the sound of a gate being opened. That's most likely because Vi was freed from the prison by someone else. We'll see who that was in just a second. We then have a shot of the last drop, which may or may not be the pub in the lanes where Vi is supposed to meet her mentor. According to her bio, someone in a pub in Zone is supposed to teach her how to fight with discipline. But because, as you'll see, the last drop is not just a normal pub, I don't think this is the place. Anyway, inside we can see that Vi is accompanied by Caitlyn, so it becomes obvious that it was Caitlyn who freed her. And that absolutely makes sense because Caitlyn is on the case to find the main villain of this story. And because the main villain kidnapped Jinx, Caitlyn would be looking for Vi because she would be her only lead. We then have a shot revealing why this place is not exactly normal. People in this pub are snorting the purple stuff, which is kind of a hint that the purple stuff is a drug in League of Legends, but that will be pretty much confirmed later in this trailer. Regardless, notice how after snorting the stuff, his nose gets corrupted and he has the corrupted veins, which all the other people corrupted with the purple stuff have as well. We then have a shot of this underwater experimental base. This is a continuation of a scene from the very first trailer, the one where one of the kids who betrays Vi and Jinx interrogates this guy. Now, originally I thought that this would be a younger version of Jayce, but I very much don't think that's possible. And that's because when Silco talks to them, he explains what the Topsiders are like. But of course, since Jayce is a Piltover, why would he be telling that to him? So I believe that this is just one of the characters who will side with Silco. We then have a shot of the Topsiders, or at least what seems to be a Piltover courtroom with Jayce approaching the heads of Piltover. Yes, as you can see, Heimerdinger is one of them. Super quickly, even though I can't play it, I have to say I love Jayce's voice in this series. But in this scene, he talks about how he discovered something incredible. And we can see him next to Viktor experimenting on the hex crystals. Now, in case you don't know much about the lore, the hex crystals are essentially gems that contain pure magic. And that's why in the next line he says that he figured out how to harness magic with science. And after that, we finally learned what the Death Beam device is actually about. Nope, that is not a deathly laser or any kind of weapon. Instead, it is propelling airships at seemingly light speed. So it's more of a booster. And then we have a shot of Heimerdinger, who is the only one who realizes the danger of having magic sold in a crystal form. And it absolutely makes sense why it's coming from Heimerdinger. It's because very recently Vex confirmed that Yordles are magic. He was essentially created with the power inside those crystals, so he would know. But regardless, I wonder how Riot is going to handle Glamour, the magic which Yordles are using on themselves to look more like people, because people are afraid of Yordles. So although we see Heimerdinger as a Yordle, to them he may still look like a human. And of course, after Heimerdinger points out the danger of the hex crystals, we then have a few shots actually showing the destruction. We then have a few shots of the Piltover Wardens getting ready with the main officer in the front. Now, if this is happening earlier in the story, it is possible that this could be Caitlyn's father, because it is his death that kickstarts Caitlyn's story, the one where she's trying to figure out who murdered her parents. And then we have this incredible shot of the main villain with his goons. On the left side, there is someone wearing a Piltover suit with 2 knives on their back. We have no idea who that could be. But on the right side, we have the kid who betrayed Vi and Jinx. There will be a better shot of them later on. But what's by far the best one in this shot, and it is so easy to overlook. If you look further down, you can see some addicted people on their knees begging Silco to give them some more purple stuff. This is pretty much a confirmation that the purple stuff is a drug in this universe. And those guys have a problem. We then have a few shots of people fully corrupted by the purple stuff. Now, we are not sure if these are some of Silco's failed experiments or if these are addicted people who lost control. Either way, the corruption very much seems to have a void origin. Which makes sense because hex crystals were discovered in Shurima. But that's also where the void is active the most. So it is possible that both powers were brought to Piltover and Zone at the same time. In the next shot, Vi then manages to punch off a giant purple stuffy totem. And the icon seems to be the exact same to the one that was shown on the back of the kid that sided with Silco. After this, it cuts to the 3 new mysterious hoverboarding characters who are boarding one of the airships, the ones that are being boosted by the giant device. And we get a pretty detailed shot of one of them. Now, unfortunately, even though we can hear the voice of a female here, that's one of the main characters of Piltover, not this character. So even though I was hoping that this would be a hint that this could be Faye, it's more likely that it is not Faye, unfortunately. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, we made another video about that. Basically, there is the theory that this character might be Faye, which is a character that originates from Ionia and which is connected to Akali. However, either this is a misdirection or it is a confirmation, but in this scene, this character grunts with a male voice, which means that it is most likely not Faye. Regardless, I still absolutely believe that this is going to be the next champion. We then have a few shots of the Zonites rioting against the Piltovans, and in some of the shots you can see that they painted over Jayce's face, so they probably don't like what he's doing with the Hextech gems. You can also see that Jayce is probably called the head of progress. And in the background, for a very brief moment, you can actually see someone walking with Viktor. We have no idea if that is Jayce or someone else, but Viktor is there. Then there is this peculiar shot of Silco where his face seems to be restored. It doesn't have the black scar which he had in the other shots that happened earlier in the story. And I don't think it's the lighting either. Here his flesh seems to have legitimately healed. So I wonder if the point why he's experimenting with the purple stuff the entire time is to heal his scar. Anyway, this is where we get a better shot of the Addict, who are really begging for more purple stuff. And even though it is really far away and so we can't tell who that one character is, the other character really has the bushy eyebrows of the kid who betrayed them. Then we have Vi fighting another purple stuff junkie, but because this character will never appear again as far as we know, I wouldn't be surprised if they were just written off after this encounter. In the background, I don't believe any of the graffitis are Jinx's work. I don't think she was insane just yet. But you can still see that some people were mocking the Wardens. After that, we have a really detailed shot of Jinx, who has blue eyes. And this shot specifically might be a reference to Jinx's original trailer. Also, notice that when she pretends to shoot with her fingers, there is a purple spark in her eyes. This could be foreshadowing that I was right all along. Anyway, then we can hear Caitlyn talking to Vi, and she's saying that she's too far gone, most likely referring to Jinx.
She's too far gone.
Once again, this is a reference to Jinx most likely being experimented on, and that she could go insane at any moment. And then we have a shot of Vander saving Vi and Jinx from a fire. And this brings up a question. If Vander is a character that appears earlier in their lives, it means that he can't be the mentor which Vi is supposed to meet in a pub. I mean, she could if Vander just disappeared from her life, but regardless, this makes it seem like Vander can be Vi's and Jinx's adoptive father, and that he could also be Warwick. It is just a theory, but right now there is nothing that would deny the fact that Vander can be Warwick. We can see that Vander is talking to Vi, so he could be the mentor, but here Vi seems to be a bit too young for what the bio mentioned. We can then see Jinx very excited about blowing stuff up, which might be a reference to her catalyst. But also this is very much a reference to her causing mayhem in her original trailer. We can then hear Jinx asking Vi if they are still sisters. And if you ask me, that is not exactly what real sisters would ask. Not even during the worst scenarios. So it makes me wonder if they are not blood-related sisters, but they are sisters by survival in Zone. That's just a thought candy for you. When Vi confirms that of course they will always be sisters, we can see two hands clasping. But that's not Vi and Jinx. Those are actually the hands of Jayce and Vi. We can see them fighting together in the next scene. And we can see that now Vi has her Atlas gauntlets, which may seem like it is hinting that Jayce made the Atlas gauntlets, but that's not the case. Something even cooler is happening here. You see, originally the Atlas gauntlets were created by Vido Violante, but he couldn't figure out how to stabilize their power. Well, Jayce figured it out earlier in this trailer. That's what this shot was about. And so while Jayce didn't make the gauntlets, he augmented them so that Vi could wield them. In the back we can see someone wearing a chem tank, but they didn't last very long. However, behind them there are more people with more chem tanks. We can see that these people are armed with a combination of Chemtech, which is an augmentation achieved with chemicals, and the purple stuff. After this, there is a shot of Vi running away from some green fireflies. I have no idea what this shot is about. Then there are more frantic flashbacks, which we have seen in the other trailers. We also have some reunion shots. And then we can see the kid that originally sided with Silco turning. This confirms that those earlier shots, which we have always thought was the villain turning, is not Silco turning. This is just the kid that sided with him. They had the blue eyes all along. And then it ends with Vi and Jinx fighting the newcomers. And that is the first official trailer for Arcane. But apparently this one is the first official one, or something. And it reveals that Arcane will be coming out on November the 6th, or 7th at like 4 in the morning if you are European. But yeah, as I said, this trailer revealed a lot more than people thought. A lot of new material to talk about purple stuff and purple eyes. I think it is pretty much obvious that I am excited about this series. I'm looking forward to seeing Viktor in action. But after that, I really wanna see if this is actually connected to the next champion. And then Convergence after that. But enough speculating, those have been all the Easter eggs found in this trailer. So now I really just want one thing from Riot. Please don't you dare retcon glamour.